Hey everyone, and welcome to Out on a Limb podcast. Today we're going to talk about a subject. Well, that subject is meditation. And I say that with hesitancy because a lot of people struggle with meditation. I'm one of them, and we beat ourselves up about this a lot. In fact, I was doing it this morning, yesterday.
Yeah.
Gosh. But because we think that we're supposed to have these aha moments in meditation. We think that this is supposed to be easy and perfect and we shouldn't have any errant thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
As I write in The Journey Within, I have a chapter on meditation and moving meditation, which we'll get into during this episode, the differences. But a lot of people have this vision in their mind when they go to meditate, that they're sitting in some lotus position, their hands are proper, they're sitting up with their back straight, their eyes are closed, and they have nothing in their mind. They're like a guru.
That's transcendental meditation.
Okay, then. So anyway, I think if you ask most people what meditation is, they have this vision of this
sitting in a Buddha position and going somewhere
quiet, and your mind is a blank slate.
Well, allowing the thoughts to come and go through your mind. They're just going to come in, and you're just going to go release. Bye.
Yes.
But I think a lot of us expect there to be no thoughts eventually, like if not immediately, eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the way it is. What do you guys think about meditation? What's the most important thing that you want to share?
I use it just for quietness, just to get myself into a place of quiet and relaxation. I've learned over time that meditation for me is just to find a place, not for answers, but just to calm myself.
Oh, yeah.
I don't use it to come up here in the treehouse or sit in the house, put on some music and just get into my own position and get some epiphany. I know that doesn't work for me. Those moments happen in different forms of, I'll say, mindfulness, or you could say meditative state, but I'm not aware that I'm in a meditative state. It's more while I'm doing mindless activities, meaning cutting the grass or building something in my shop or driving in my car.
Which is not totally mindless, let's just say, but
it's not mindless.
It's part of your brain.
My mind is actively doing something. Yes. But I don't have to put thought towards that because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's rote.
Exactly.
Like driving.
Yes. So, but yeah.
So what you're describing is kind of a trance-like state, right? And so a lot of times when we get intuitive hits or information or guides connecting or something like that, it comes in a trance-like state, like when you're driving, a hypnotic type trance.
Yeah. Where you forget what exit you're supposed to turn at because you're so into that.
Yes.
Right.
State.
And that trance-like state may or may not happen during meditation. So trance and meditation are not quite the same thing. They can be, but I think that's where we get confused.
Well,
what do you think?
Meditation's a tool. It's a opportunity
to get into
tool.
A trance.
Multifaceted tool.
To use for all kinds of different things. That's the thing,
right?
Is that people think that meditation is to do exactly what you just said. And meditation is merely a vehicle, a tool to get you. It's like, where do you want to go with it? Do you want to calm your energy? Do you want to elevate your energy? Do you want to go on an adventure? Do you want to, is there someone you want to go meet within this? It takes you different directions. So just getting into that state of quieting your mind down, that's just the beginning point. And me saying that is, that doesn't mean it has to be, you eventually have to quiet it down enough, but it doesn't mean that you have to be in, zero gravity, zero peace, zero quiet, whatever. As far as the space around you, because people can meditate, get in that space at a coffee shop very easily, with white noise. I went through a period of time where there was so much noise in my life and I couldn't shut down my thoughts. I couldn't go there, that I found that listening to, the Hertz music, 432
binaural beats and all that. Yeah.
I called that my floaty music.
Oh yeah.
Floaty. And so I would just go outside. And so I just needed to calm my mind, be in that meditative, just whoosh. And I would go outside to kind of like in a way, take a nap. But what I was really doing is getting into that lucid state.
Yes.
And literally just floating. And then an idea would just drop down. Things would just start to hit me. And all of a sudden, without me asking, things would just begin to make sense.
Yep.
Okay. So you brought up something good that I want to talk about. You brought up one of the points, which is how meditation is connected to mindfulness. And so when I was writing The Journey Within, part of, I think, my role and yours too, is to sort of bridge the worlds between regular muggle world and the metaphysical world, right? Just how do we have those conversations where things don't have to be woo-woo or weird or crazy, and how you can approach normal, regular, everyday people, right? Mm-hmm. So in the book, I talked about how meditation is described by some of the scientific community. So there is a PhD gentleman named John Kabat-Zinn. I can't remember exactly, but at any rate, I think he was in Boston at one of the schools in Boston. But he talks about this program called MBSR, which is mindfulness-based stress reduction. So instead of acting as if, the whole purpose of meditation is to connect with other realms and go into woo-woo land, it's about how it helps us physically and our mental health and all of that sort of thing.
Sure.
And so he has, and I'll put this down in the description, but he alludes to this program called Pulse Mindfulness, and it's an MBSR course for anybody who wants to practice different types of meditation processes, because you go through, I think it's like 8 weeks, and you can get a certificate at the end, but you practice guided meditations and different types of meditation, ones where you chant a mantra, and just all kinds of different types, to explore all of them and see what works for you, because just sitting on the floor with your legs crossed and closing your eyes is not necessarily enough to cut it. But there are tons of studies about how it does relieve stress, how stopping your mind, which is kind of the point, stopping the errant thoughts, can change thought patterns and reduce stress and reduce blood pressure and all kinds of health benefits he talks about in that program.
Well, I mean, through stress reduction and mindfulness, that would take you into the realm of, visualization or breath work or any of that for quieting the mind or bringing all that in. And it's interesting because, we talk about all this stuff as being woo-woo or in that realm, but what many people don't realize, and only because military background, but many of our special forces operators, or in that realm, in that community, they utilize mindfulness techniques in the stress of battle, in the stress of in order to focus, and they use breathing techniques.
And even those, what do they call them, the fighters from ancient China and all of those that were so good at that technique, the art of war and all of that. So this has been handed down for a long time. So
it's not something new. This isn't something that has just somebody made up and just recently. These are ancient techniques of being able to bring the body into a place of balance, coherence and balance. And that, we've talked about this in previous podcasts. That is the beginning state of healing, is to bring the body into balance, into coherence, into a stress reduced place, in order for the body to begin its repair of its, cells and its tissues and its, the whole structure.
So what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding then is that meditation is just a tool, and the tool can be used for various things. It can be used to connect with spirit guides and whatever, the quantum realm, but it can also be used strictly for 3D stress reduction, which is not a small thing.
No.
Well, okay, so here's an instance of how, I would refer to this as a type of meditation, though you could say it's stretching it, but it's long been known, like in the tech industry, that, you see like Google and places like that they've got these game rooms that are just amazing. And they have those, and, people might say, oh, stress reduction, but it has to do with when you have all that going on in your head.
Yeah.
And you can't solve the problem in front of you.
Yep.
And, you know, the saying goes, you can't solve the problem from within the energy of the problem.
Exactly.
And so when you go out and you play some game, it, you know, something that just takes your mind off of it, that's relaxing. Again, that's kind of like when you talk about driving or being in the garden, that it frees up that RAM.
Yes.
Since we're talking tech
That's a
stuff,
good way to put it.
frees up that RAM in your head. And next thing you know, the solution just winds its way down into you, and then they go back to work. So, you know, that's actually an application that is not a waste of time. And if more businesses understood that, if people like, I mean, there's a lot more businesses, I think, that are even putting in, I don't know if y'all have seen these, but they're meditation pods. They're like,
oh, right.
And they make them look so cool that, like, I just want to go sit in one of them. And all it is, you know, it just looks really cool how they've done like maybe an egg or some kind of, but it's really aesthetically pleasing. And you can go in and they're somewhat soundproof and just take your 15 to 20 minutes. And if people did that, and just released from all of the noise and the paperwork and the, you know, they'd be able to go back fresh instead of going for your coffee break, smoke break,
right?
You know,
that's using other tools to release stress that are not
just
so
a tool,
healthy.
right? Yes.
Good point. And so in the book one of the chapters is meditation, but the other one is moving meditation. And so I think what you're describing then, Samantha, is a form of moving meditation.
If they're doing ping pong and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And we talk about these types of things like coloring mandalas on paper or gardening or cooking.
Is that considered moving meditation? Okay.
Yeah.
As well as traditional Qigong and Tai Chi and that sort of thing. For sure. Yeah. So there's lots of ways to stop the monkey mind and to get you in more of that hypnotic type trance state, so that whether, you know, you are connecting into the quantum field or just allowing your intuition or problem solving skills to drop in for you, but also stopping the errant thoughts, because a lot of the thoughts that run in our minds are negative, right?
Oh yeah.
Horribly.
I mean,
or it's the continuing list of things that we have to do. It's, oh, well, when I get home from work, I got to do the dishes, or I got to cook a meal, or I got to fix this, or I got to do this.
Don't forget to pick this up from the store.
Right,
and you'll say it over and over again so you don't forget.
Exactly.
Right.
It's the limitless lists that we put upon ourselves that creep in every time we want to try to quiet our mind. Because really what we're trying to do is create a little space for ourselves. Well, ourselves doesn't want that space. So it's going to say, no, you got a list of things to do. So let's get to it. You need this decompression, you know, in your life to help sort those lists out. Because frankly, if everyone were to do and we had to do this in the military quite frequently, but do a time assessment of your day, how much time do you dedicate to everything in your life? You'd be really surprised how much time you actually have in an 8-hour day of work, or a 12-hour or a 16-hour day of, you know, awake period. You'd realize how much actual time you do have for yourself. But we impose all of these stressors of, well, I have to get this done at this time, that thing done at that time, this thing done at that time, and this, and this, and this, and this. And then you perceive that you have no time for yourself. If you can decompress from that and realize it doesn't take but 2 or 3 minutes of just sitting and breathing, you're going to clear your head of all the cobwebs for the next several hours to get stuff done more effectively than you would have if you just try to push through the entire list of things you had to do.
So you talk about sitting and breathing, and I want to explain why the moving meditation, kind of like driving, or like you said, cutting the grass, or whatever it is you're doing, why that's so important. Because if you try to relax by sitting on the couch and watching a movie, or just laying down on the couch or something like that, your mind is not turned off. It's still going. And that's when the thoughts come in, right? But if you're doing something that makes your mind engage, like you have to engage your mind to drive, but it's on autopilot. So your mind is actually doing something so that it's kind of stepping aside, and your intuition, your left or your right brain, can process and start receiving information. But you need something to keep that monkey mind going.
By the way, okay, I do not recommend doing this at home. But one time I was trying to help someone out, and you know how you say you can get into that space when you're driving. So I decided, well, what the hell? I'll just do a reading while I'm driving.
Yeah, no, probably not recommended.
Oh, the reading was fabulous.
But you ended up in Timbuktu.
My driving was, I missed several turns. I mean, I was on an interstate, but there were a couple of turns, and yeah, I was just in a whole other world. So don't recommend that.
Unless you're on Highway 20 going from East Coast to West Coast.
Yeah,
no exits, right?
I was just, you were talking about quieting the monkey mind and all that. And as I'm sitting here thinking, yes, you got to give your monkey mind a chew toy.
Yeah.
You got to give it a chew toy,
Give the monkey a chew toy.
That's right. You got to give the monkey mind a chew toy to distract it from what you're trying to achieve.
Well, it's funny because I had a client not too long ago look at me and she's just like, what do you mean monkey mind? What is this monkey mind you speak of? I was like, well, what do you call it? And she goes, well, there's just lots of thoughts in my head. And I'm like going, well, I call it monkey chatter.
Yeah.
It's just, they don't stop. And I just realized, well, because she said that, then I started, every time I said monkey chatter, people, if I saw kind of a weird look, I'd say, well, don't you call it that? So I started polling everybody. So write in the comments below if you have a different name for that, because this has become a journey of mine. Yeah. But I just didn't realize that y'all use that expression. Oh, yeah. So it's like,
well, there was a little, this was back, pre-COVID. There you go. Pre and post COVID. That there was a little video that was a little meme or something that was going out about the monkey mind, and it was on Facebook for the longest time. If I find it, I might insert it as a link down.
Yeah, you got to insert it in the video.
It's
monkey.
It's a monkey mind little thing about explaining what the monkey mind is, and it's a really good video. It's actually a very good video.
Meme video. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna put that in our notes here.
Yeah, cool.
But there is something to be said about keeping that monkey mind engaged. But there is also something to be said about, in terms of stress reduction, not trying to tune into your intuition, but stress reduction is learning how to control those thoughts and train them. And so I think it is a good practice to actually try traditional meditation. And that's why this MBSR is so important.
Yep.
Because what he says, and I want to make sure I get this right, the MBSR is purposeful attention to the present moment in a non-judgmental way. So giving purposeful attention to the present moment, which is in the now, right? The power of now, is that Eckhart Tolle or something, right? It's so important to be in the now, because the past is gone, future's not here. Yeah. When you get to the future, it'll be the now. The now is the most important, right? So being in the now moment in a meditative space, right?
And that's literally all you have is the present moment.
True.
Right. And in a non-judgmental way. So in other words, a thought comes in, thought, and then you let it go, fly it off in a little cloud or something. Another thought comes in, thought, and train back in. The more you practice training back in, not judging yourself for that, the fewer times it will happen eventually. And you can train yourself then to get rid of those negative thoughts. So it changes thought patterns in the conscious waking world when you practice it in a meditative space.
Yes.
Because a negative thought will come in, oh my God, I'm worthless, or I forgot to pay this bill, I'm a bad person, or whatever it is. Thought, let it fly away on a cloud.
Well, I think it's Abraham Hicks that says that if you hold on to a thought for, is it 17 seconds or 19, or, there's actually, she's like, isn't it convenient? There's a delay. And I don't know how she knows about this delay from the collective Abraham or whatever. But if you hold on to a thought for more than 17 or 19 seconds, then it begins to move into thought form, into
so it begins to root, and then it becomes reality.
So that's why when you're doing what you're talking about and you go, oh, I recognize I'm having this thought, and you allow it to drift away, it doesn't start the whole mechanics of the universe pulling the thing towards you, or redefining or reassuring you that, yes, you are worthless, whatever it is. So you keep, anyway, I just thought that was an interesting.
It's very important. That's a good point. And by the same token, you could sit and do a mantra of a positive affirmation and do it for, of course, longer than 17 seconds, however long. I have a big thing about positive affirmations, because I used to be so into that, just going, oh my God, these aren't working for me. Like, this is just so bad. And I was going through this radical honesty stage and stuff. And I began to realize it doesn't work for me because I can't buy into the statement. Right.
So like if you're sitting there going, because they always give you these
I'm a
lists,
millionaire or whatever. Yeah.
or like I'm a beautiful person. And like a lot of people can't say that. I mean, they say it going, God, I want to be that, but it's a lie. And there's a dissonance in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you have to go to that next thing that energetically is acceptable. Okay. Try, I'm a good person. And if you're not buying that in the moment, which is really sad if you don't buy at least that, then go to, I'm an okay person. I'm a surviving person. I'm a breathing person. I'm a whatever. You find whatever energetically aligns with you in the moment that is in a better feeling state. And then you work your way up from that every so often, like incrementally. Yeah. That's my disclaimer with positive affirmations, because some of them I've heard and I'm just like, there's no way I could say that.
I don't care for those kinds of affirmations to say something that you know that you're not, because it's so hard to get to that core belief. But things like every day, what was it your friend Diana says? Everything is working out.
Everything's always working out for me.
Right.
Everything's
Or
working out for
just
me.
something as simple as
this or something better.
Every day I'm getting better. Every day I'm trying harder, or whatever it is. Every day, you're working towards this goal because it's true. And we have slip ups, but we're always evolving into a better version of ourselves. So however you can say that without saying, I'm this successful millionaire that's got clients out the wazoo, and
and it doesn't have to be about you. I mean, like my thing was, every day there's going to be something exciting. I mean, that was my thing. I just knew it.
True.
Everything.
Right.
So I'd set myself up, and that would sort of start everything in motion. And, but saying that in that quiet space, that, and adding the feeling in with it, and just sitting with that, having no expectation as to what that outcome's going to be, but just allowing it to float out there. That time that I would take to like set that, I don't want to say expectation, but set that thought in motion, that feeling in motion, that's so sacred. That's that meditative space. That is that it's communing with something greater than just the space, just like the physicality of what you are. It's like you're reaching into the breath of God or something. Sorry, but it's like that. It is to me, it's very reverential, even though I've never thought of it really that way, but it's really over the past year that it's become more of a, like, it's like going to the spa. Like, I would rather do that than go and hang out with people or whatever. I'd rather have that time to just go.
Yeah, no, I mean, as far as we talk about meditation, and meditations for me initially, and this takes me back all the way back to my childhood. That's how I had my out of body experiences, was through meditation.
Now, were you listening to music or just? It
was a guided meditation that our psychology teacher would do with us. And then this goes back to the conversation that we were having before the podcast started, but I locked that guided meditation in my head, and I could take and sit with some music and work through that guided meditation aspect. And it was nothing more than just relaxing every single muscle of the body until you become heavy, blah, blah, that kind of thing. And I realized I could journey outside of my existence or outside of my body. Not too far, but far enough to where I could observe the room around me and the people in it, and in different rooms in a house or whatever.
That's not nothing.
Well, right.
No, like a lot of us want to do that.
But then it progressed into more of finding my own, I hate to use the word, but Zen. So I use that type of same meditation aspect on my first deployment on the ship that I was on in the Coast Guard, when there were some very high stress situations taking place. Not so much in the moment of the stress when I was actively doing something.
I was about to say.
No, but immediately after, I would find myself out on the fantail or on the aft section of the boat, just with my headphones on, and here's dating me with my Walkman and cassette tapes, and the big old fuzzy thingies, and yeah, exactly, and just staring off into the wash coming off the back of the boat, and I could just, and I didn't have to do it for long, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and I could just reset myself that quickly. So now what what meditations have turned into for me is just that place where I know I need to just have a moment of decompression. It doesn't happen often, but it does when I feel it, I need to do it. And I know that I need to do it.
Right. Fun tidbit. That's when we met, when your
Yes.
ship pulled back into port in Wellington after that year at sea.
Why are you rolling your eyes?
That's my thing. Anyhow, so we had some dates, and as we were dating, he's like, "Hey, do you want to meditate with
I
me?
asked her, I said, have you ever
Do
meditated?
you want to meditate with me?" I'm like, "What kind
Oh,
of,
that's a slick line
what kind
there.
of Fruit
Wow.
Loop are you? No. Why would I want to meditate with you? My God."
Go up on the flight deck,
You
look,
really?
watch this. I did. I said,
No, I
"Look
didn't. I didn't say that. I thought that,
That's
but I
almost
didn't
like,
say
do,
that.
do you want to go watch the, underwater
Oh,
ball,
he said-
right,
volleyball,
yeah,
like whatever?
the submarine races.
Well, we
Yeah.
did. I don't know who's. We went in. Or I don't know if we were in our living room at first or
No, it was
whatever.
on the flight deck. It was on the flight deck.
Right, but there was a time we
Hey,
did.
that was a
We did it
bitchy
a couple
place
times.
to
Right.
end up having a first
Absolutely.
meditation.
True.
Absolutely.
Don't discount that. Okay, so what that reminds me of when you said that, I had the opportunity to go on a celebrity cruise ship in March, and that was on an Abraham Hicks cruise. And I did not discover this until towards the end, and I was so bummed. But what was really cool, and this is how meditation has become so in the mainstream now. I just knew that I needed a place to quiet my mind, and I thought, "Ooh, they have this one area up at the what's the back of the ship?
The
The
stern.
stern of the ship." And anyway, and I think it was the back, or no, it might have been the front. Hell, I don't even know anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's water all around. I know
Mm.
that. And
As
so
there tends to be when you're on a cruise ship,
yes,
unless you're in
there's-
dock. But then there's still water around.
Yeah, sure.
there's
Sorry,
a
we
panoramic
digress.
view, and it's like this space where it'd be like a meeting space. They'd have music at night and all that kind of stuff, but it's just really lovely energy. So I go up there thinking this is going to be a great place just to sit, listen to some meditation music. This is going to be really cool. And all of a sudden I see this person handing out headphones if you wanted them, and that you could tune them to the station they had set.
Yeah.
And that from
Ah.
like 8 to 9 or 9 to 10, they had meditation time.
Wow.
And I was like, what? I mean,
Nice.
so, I didn't need their stuff. I had my own. I was all prepped. So I found my spot, and I literally didn't leave for 3 hours.
Wow.
It was so like, I would open my eyes up and I'd see people kind of coming and going. I could feel the change,
Yeah.
and I'd open my eyes and I'd just see blue.
How beautiful.
And then I just go back into it again.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, that was, you talk about float tanks
Yeah.
and things like that. That was on par of that kind of experience, because it was just so
Mhm.
otherworldly. But to see it go that kind of mainstream,
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I sound like I'm so into it, and it's weird because I'm like, I've never thought of myself as a meditator.
I
I
think
haven't either, sadly.
well,
Well,
I'm
you're
trying.
Gonna you're gonna get
there's
there.
too much pressure put on
Every
you. You're
day
putting
and
too
every
much pressure
way.
on yourself about your meditations and all of that.
Well, you're trying to achieve something, and it's
Right.
the whole thing. Okay, so the way I
They're going to
came,
diagnose me now.
no, the way I came to, we're getting there.
Hold on, I'm moving this out this way.
Okay, thank you.
So the way that I came to meditation was that I wanted to further develop my intuitive abilities.
Yeah.
So, I was doing tarot work, but I wasn't grounding. I wasn't, and when you're grounding, you are doing meditation work. You have your eyes closed.
Yeah.
Anytime you're doing visualizations, that is to me a type of meditation.
Right.
And it's just guided meditation. And so I would take myself, and I was so impatient, man. I'd take myself through it so quickly. And it's only years later when I started to, literally 20 years later, when I started to understand the importance of feeling, not just doing, but actually feeling what you're doing and adding that component. Did it turn itself upside down and become this like holy grail? And so, but anyway, it was the guided meditation so that I could get better. So for me, I needed that carrot. So it's like, if you will go and meditate, then Will make his biscuits for you. How about that?
Oh,
Mm.
I need to be rewarded now.
but it's literally just, you find whatever is that purpose, that thing, do you need to quiet your mind? Is it that you're trying to enable your abilities? The importance of your imagination, of developing. I grew up with an incredible imagination, youngest child, Aries, I had it going. But so many of the people who I work with do not have a very well-formed sense
Sure.
of an imagination. And that you really get it going through guided meditations.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
need that to communicate with spirit.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And I think most of the time when I meditate what I would consider successfully, it's just for relaxation. Like sometimes I'll go through, there's a recording of the 9 solfeggio
Mhm.
Yeah.
frequencies, and I'll go through the 100, 200, whatever. And that feels really good. And I
That's
just
nice.
visualize that working through my body and I'm relaxing. I think where I was getting hung up, like you mentioned, was trying to make something happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I would get meditation and
getting
trance
somewhere.
or hypnotic state as one and the same, and they're really not at all.
Mm-mm.
You can use a meditative process to get into the trance state, but you can
Mhm.
also get into the trance state different ways, through
Yes.
through a guided meditation type of thing, or
Mhm.
through breath work,
Yes.
or things like that.
Yeah.
And so when I sit and I try to, we have a Sunday group that we meet, there's 13 of us, and we gather around every Sunday night, and we go into, we merge our consciousness and we go into a meditative state together. And then, similar to hypnosis, I'm kind of like on, and I'm waiting for something to happen because I have to report back to the group in 15 minutes. That's where I start getting frustrated.
Yeah, I kind of do. Something happens.
'Cause
and
I
I'm going,
feel on the
remember
spot.
that.
Yeah,
And it's like,
that's how it is for me too.
we got to
It's-
let it go.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So take 2 of the most well-known that I'm just thinking of in this moment. Esther Hicks and
Mhm.
Suzanne Giesman.
Mhm.
Okay. They each talked about how they sat there in silence,
Mhm.
trying, well, not trying, patiently waiting for something to come. They
Yes.
did that for
Like a year. I think
year and a
Suzanne
half.
was a year, right?
Yeah. And so come on, like, you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself too. And the whole idea is you have to do it without the expectation. And for
Right.
me, that's why
Yes.
the guided medications,
Medications. Yeah.
the guided
exactly.
Those are helpful
meditations.
too.
Yeah.
Those really help.
But the guided meditations, they busied my mind so my body could float and I could
Yes.
relax. So it's the
Yes.
same thing as gardening.
Yes.
So yeah, if you're doing that,
It's the chew choy for the mind. It is.
Yeah.
You have to have if for those like for myself, I can't adequately, help you understand meditation because it's so seamless with everything that I do. From the trance channeling to my mediumship work to my psychic work, all of that stuff, it all involves a point of meditation, mindfulness right before or during that I have to be in that space. So trying for me to put it into words to help you or anyone else is a bit difficult. I can tell you
is,
what
yeah.
it's like for myself.
but okay.
But I
Because I
can't
was
take you there.
thinking about this earlier. One of the best questions a client can ask you, because you're not
Yeah.
per se a teacher, but you are,
Yeah.
is, I'm saying, like, you're not
Sure.
doing active classes, but it's to have someone say, what does it feel like? What does that look like?
Mhm.
Because we just do things automatically in this realm of intuitive and spiritual work, metaphysical work. But when we stop to examine what it is we're doing,
Oh,
it's almost like parting the curtain
I
and
can-
seeing the man at the controls.
I can definitely articulate that because it's something that, again, it's the muscle memory that's been burned in. This is what I've done. And this is the practice that I still do today. If I know I'm going to meditate, like on our Sunday nights, I know we're going to meditate.
Mhm.
And even when I sit in the chair to do my trance work. So one of the things that I visualize is when I close my eyes, and I can have music on or no music at this point. It doesn't matter. I can sit in complete silence or ruckus all around me. I don't care what it is, dogs, thunder, whatever. But one of the things I do is this aspect of the third eye. And a lot of people have this understanding of the third eye is just in the center of the brow, just above the eye line, kind of inward, right? So you kind of have to roll your eyes back. Well,
It really hurts.
it does.
Yeah.
It really
Well,
does.
not comfortable.
When you try to really understand rolling your eyes back and converging them in the middle of your head, it hurts because your eyes aren't meant to roll and converge in the middle and
Right.
look in the center of your brain. So what I do is I close my eyes and think of my eyes being closed and they're looking this way. And I just slightly roll them up just a little bit. Yes, everything is black in front of me. But in a moment or so, I'll see just a little seed of a light. Just a very, almost like a like a DMV test where they're testing your depth perception and with little lights and stuff like that. Just this little faint dot, and that's my focal point.
Mhm.
And I just concentrate on that one spot, and I don't lose focus of that one spot. Now my eyes are closed. I see that little light. I focus on it, and the more I focus on it, the more it unfolds in front of me, and I get closer and closer and closer, kind of like a guided meditation. And eventually I'm just in this zone, in this space that exists without any depth, without any space, without any understanding. And it's just my quiet blanket. That's where it's at. And that's what I use every single time. If I need to do a meditation that has to, connect with something or whatever, it's very quick and very seamless for me.
Have you ever explained that to Allison?
You did.
I have.
Did you?
I think you
Okay.
tried to walk me
I
through
try
that
to
once.
walk her through that once or
Okay.
twice.
I was
and
like,
her brain,
Well, see, I
because it's so analytical, it's hard for her to lock onto that.
well, see, I don't see, like, I can't get that thing of like, when I start seeing it go, boom, like, and it starts,
Yeah.
I get caught up in all of these movements
Sure.
and I'm like going, what the hell am I seeing? And then I start analyzing it.
Right.
So that's why it's like, it's taken me, I mean, I've been doing this a long time and it's, meditation was like a favorite hate of mine until I got the emotions involved in it, because,
Sure.
okay, so there's this one meditation that I created that now I've given to my clients to do. But this is how I started it. I'm trying to remember why I started doing this, opening up my space, but I would just sit there and imagine, and I would do this before bed. And I finally realized it was stupid timing. I would sit there and just imagine I'm just laying and I'm relaxing and I'm looking up at a blue sky. And so my mantra, which you don't have to have a mantra, but for this, for some reason, just to keep myself, because I'm very ADD, to keep myself focused. Otherwise I'd start going, oh, squirrel. I just go blue sky. And I would look up at the blue sky. And then all of a sudden, and I'd feel myself lifting up towards the blue sky. And then I would see clouds come around, these soft, white, fluffy, not the angry ones. And I would go and like one would just come underneath me and I would feel myself settle on it and I would just relax. And as I'm sitting there all comfortable and feeling that elevated space, all of a sudden I would feel, and oh my God, I can still almost get emotional from it. It's like feeling this hug, like the hands of God, just like this hug coming around you and it's this pressure. It's this coming in of this sensation and just feeling just love. And it's just pure 100% unadulterated love.
Wow.
And tears would start streaming down.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know that was going to happen the first time I did it. I would just go up and relax on the clouds, cloud nine. And then all of a sudden this experience happens. And so I was just like, okay, this is what I need. And so I teach my clients this it's to honor themselves, to give themselves, no one else is giving them a hug, and no one is required to give you a hug. You need to give yourself a hug. You need to go and do this yourself. And you will find that you just radiate this beautiful energy when you finish this. So that became like, that turned into so much more and that's where I really started feeling that greater presence out there.
I like how you said no expectation.
Yeah.
At first, no expectation.
Well, because if you have an expectation, then all of a sudden,
then you're disappointed.
Well, no, but you have an expectation. You're trying to force something to happen where something more miraculous.
Square peg, round hole. Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, exactly. You have an expectation that you're going to have this outcome and then the outcome doesn't happen. And then you get upset and then you walk away from your meditation being more pissed off than you were.
I wasted my time.
Right. I tried and it
so
didn't
much
work.
for stress relief. You're more
Exactly.
mad.
But you bring up a point about, emotion and I think there is an aspect of emotion when we start working in the energy fields that is so critical that not only for healing and that's a conversation, that's a conversation for another time, but right. It's more so that the emotions are the gateways to connectedness, to connecting into that energetic space.
Yes.
And so, if you can connect to, and it's not to set an intent that you're going to connect to some sort of emotion that's in you, but it's more so this is going to sound weird, but the microscopic emotions that are always around us that when you go into this space of meditation or mindfulness, that you start feeling these tiny little sensations, and you explore that tiny little sensation, and it erupts into an emotion of full unadulterated love, or even a fear emotion, or even some other emotion that you can explore from that aspect, not this aspect, not the human aspect.
That's interesting.
Right? So I've had those sensations, not so much during meditations, but that would happen regularly when I'm driving and I'm listening to my music. I love my music, and it's, I'm an EDM guy, electronic dance music. If for those that don't know,
He loves the drop.
Exactly. Give me some heavy bass and some techno, some down tempo, just, let it flow. And, but if I'm listening to that, the volume's up, I'm driving, I'm in that zone, and I'll be washed with so many different emotions in a cycle of 30 minutes. And it'll just,
do they take on colors too?
they'll take on colors, textures, everything. I mean, who needs psychedelics at that point? But yet I still have to function to drive my car, but it is there. It is palatable, and I feel it. And I'll be driving and I'm just weeping because I'm so filled with gratitude, or I'm so filled with love. I'm so filled with an emotion that just came out of nowhere. Why is that? And then I can explore, where did that come from?
That's a good point. Emotion. Thank you for bringing that up. So Suzanne Giesemann, we talk about her a lot, but on her website, she has tons of free things. One of them, I think, that she still teaches for free on her website is the Bless Me method.
Yes.
It's like a 7-step procedure of how to connect. I'm trying to go through Bless Me at 7, counting in my head, of how to connect with the quantum field, basically, to tap in specifically for mediumship, but anything really. And the steps that she goes through are thinking of something that expands your heart space, thinking of something love, like, and not just generic love, but things like a little kitten that warms your heart because they're helpless and all of that, but also this sense of gratitude. So those two emotions,
does it for me.
Gratitude and love, to open that heart space, expand your aura. So you're right about the emotional piece. That is how we connect, is through the emotions. Humans are the only beings that have that kind of level of emotion. And sometimes we begrudge that. I know we're getting off on a bit of a tangent, but we learn through those, and they're purposeful. And the beings, the galactics that have bred that out, realized that it led to their demise, or that their lives weren't as fulfilling, and they needed
and which
to.
galactics are those, just so people know?
Well, the Zetas are specifically known for breeding that out, and then they were going to become extinct, which is why they're manipulating our genetics. But anyway, they're one of the most traditional.
We got to talk about,
but
bring up
but the galactics have mentioned, for the purposes of the book, that eventually in our history or in our future, they're going to colonize with us, but they can't colonize now because none of them have the understanding of emotion that we do. So if they came in here, they wouldn't understand that would scare us. Hello. They don't understand fear.
Boss.
Almost.
Someone who's shut down, that kind of a.
It's just that they don't understand how things trigger our emotions in that way, because to them, it's just energy. Emotions are nothing but energy translated through our body. Yeah. That's what it is. And so they have those levels of energetic frequency, and they get that, but they don't have physical sensations that equate to emotions. So it doesn't.
They don't have a chemistry that we have, because you can have that energy, but it has to be coded through chemistry in our body. And that's like for me, if I get in a situation where I get upset at all, like at a situation, and it's not anger so much as, but it's frustration or whatever. I can't handle those situations anymore. And it's not that I try to people please, but I have to move myself into a neutral space, because I feel the toxicity of those chemicals. It hurts my body, and I'm literally curled up for a little bit. Like it physically hurts now. So I understand the chemistry aspect of that. And
that makes sense.
And as far as emotion, it's also, I think that's some of the limiting factor of why a lot of people have a hard time meditating, is because one, they may be afraid to feel those emotions.
That is a good point.
When emotions arrive in a space in which they believe emotion shouldn't be there, then it becomes very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
you don't know.
If you're not comfortable with your own emotions, and
Many are not. Many
Right.
of us are not.
right,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's funny. We just did an interview, and the gentleman that was interviewing us, he even said, it seems as if the roles are reversed between you two. Yes,
Mm.
we've said that. I mean, we've been married 30 something years, 35, 33 years, and we've said it from early on that I take on the feminine role in the relationship, and Allison is the masculine role in this relationship, and I don't deny that. I absolutely own that 100%, because I wear my emotions on my sleeve.
But that's not like the
Yes,
way
he
you say
does.
that, it almost sounds like it's not a, like,
No, it's a beautiful
It's
thing.
not traditional.
It's not traditional, but it's a
Yes.
beautiful thing, because
Yeah.
that's how our relationship works the best, because
Mhm.
but to that extent, that might also be some of the hindering aspects of meditation,
I'm sure.
is
Yeah.
the fear of emotional release while you're getting into that.
Well,
Right.
this is what I wanted to bring
Again,
up
we're
with that.
diagnosing Allison. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
So I was not diagnosed. So one of the things that I would lean people towards is, because you were saying about, the kitty or something, find something, the baby, something. But the problem is we have so many emotional attachments. So many of us have, love is skewed. It comes with strings.
Sure.
Yeah.
So few people have felt pure love. And even if you try to go into romantic love, when you're trying to do a meditation, man, you're going to start thinking about what a shit that person was. It's just not going to work. So I find that gratitude is that
Yes,
neutral,
that's a key point.
incredible space, because even if you are like, crap's going down, like it's just not a good day, whatever, you can still find that kernel of gratitude of,
Sure.
I'm breathing.
That's
I am
That's right.
feeling this moment. I have a chair to sit on. I have a roof over my head. I have and you can start, because it's almost like, when you have the kindling or whatever, and you start blowing on
That's
it.
right.
Right.
So you
The little
feel it.
sparks, and then poof.
And so that's the thing. You're breathing life into this feeling that then lifts you into that space. And so now finish the bless me method, because we got so sidetracked on. So it's
I don't think I have it committed, but basically the
you
B stands for breath. You're focusing on your breath, and then lift.
Right.
I think you lift
Mhm.
lift something. I don't remember what it is.
And then
and you're expanding your aura,
Mhm.
and then you're shifting your focus, something like that.
Well, you
Yeah.
surrender, and when you
Yeah,
surrender, and this is really important when you're doing meditations, is
Yes,
that you surrender the ego.
Yes.
Like you allow yourself to be like that kind of nothingness. Like when you talk about that point
Yeah.
of light, I
Mhm.
think of, you're stripping away.
Yeah.
It's so much fun when you get to leave the ego behind.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. It's just like freedom. It
Mhm.
feels so good. And then, so it's surrender. And then that's when
Then shift.
then you can shift,
and
because
then I think she
yeah.
says merge. And
merge
something
is when
else.
you want to then go to that like for
Taking it to the next
meditation
level.
purposes, that would get you there.
Yeah.
And then the merge is when you want to
Blend
have
with
that.
spirit. Mm.
Yeah. Blend with spirit. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
And
practiced
experience.
that again. You sent me one of those recordings, and I practiced that again, and was reminded about how powerful that practice is.
Mhm.
I did that this morning, and it was really nice. It was
Good.
very comfortable.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's on her
Comfortable's good.
website,
Well,
I would not have
SuzanneGiesman.com.
expected that to be the word coming. Like for me, it was
Because it
powerful.
feels
You
good.
just
No,
like,
it feels comfortable and good. It just feels so nice to be floating in that space.
I can't wait to hear her say, "Oh my God, it was so ecstatic."
Right.
Anyway,
Give me a few weeks.
and we'll say, I want what she's.
We'll put a link. We'll put a link in the show notes.
And while we're bringing up links, I do want to say that on drallisonbrown.com under resources, I do have a couple of guided meditations.
Yeah.
One is just a relaxation meditation to get you into the space of connecting with whatever you wish, or connecting with a past life, whatever. Then there are a couple of galactic ones. One is with the Leadins, expanding your heart space, and one is with the Andromedans, working through your chakras.
I need to do the.
So you can,
Yeah.
those are free, and you can listen to those as long as you want.
Yeah.
Well, so Allison is a would you
Mhm.
say hypnotherapist? Is that- you can't.
Not a certified.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it that, but
But
I
so
call it spiritual hypnosis.
you might
Yeah.
have some issues getting into that meditative state, which I think you've gotten into more than you realize you've gotten into.
I'm sure. I know I have.
And, but you're really good with the meditations.
I was thinking
them.
I was thinking about how good, I mean, this is my skill set. I'm pretty good at helping other people get into those states.
Mhm.
Not so good with myself. What isn't it the barber who doesn't,
Right.
none of his kids have a haircut?
Right. Exactly.
Oh, none of my family have photos. As a photographer. And yet, you know,
Right.
once the digital camera came around, there were no more photos of us anywhere, and
Right.
it just stopped happening.
That's
Like it's
funny.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
right,
For
right,
different
right.
reasons, but anyway.
Yeah, it just
Well, this was a fun topic.
Yeah.
It was hit a lot more sidebars than I thought. So this was good. There's a
Mhm.
lot to talk about. If you have anything else to add about your own meditative experiences or tips for other people, please leave those in the comments. We read and appreciate all of those.
Yep.
We also appreciate all of you who have been faithful followers. So we thank you once again. And if you did find this valuable, go ahead and hit the
Subscribe.
notification bell and the subscribe button.
Do all
and
those things.
share
All
it
those
and
things.
all of those things. I like people like to say smash that button.
Yeah. Right.
At any rate,
I don't know if there's a button to
we're very
smash, but okay.
thankful. Yeah. We're very thankful that you are watching and spending your time with us.
Yeah, for sure.
So until next time, folks, we'll see you.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.